All right, we gonna do this.
Cause I ain't leaving alone. Feel like I could be honest, babe. We both know that we're grown. That's why I wanna know. How many drinks would it take you to leave with me? Yeah, you look good and I got money, but I don't wanna waste my time.
Hi, welcome to my bubble where we do a little bit of adulting, a little bit of healing, and a little bit of creating. We healing today, folks. Um, Not quite the best lighting. It was just super storming. Sun is going down, but it kind of sort of fits the vibe for what we're talking about or what's happening, I guess. Um, we're healing today. Yesterday was real time. Yesterday was Therapy Thursday. Um, at this phase slash point in life, I am working on embracing my feminine energy and just the time that we're in right now. The feminine is taking over. If you haven't noticed, just be prepared for that. But in general, I am healing different wounds and things and like trying to embrace my and working on embracing my feminine energy more. So yesterday's Therapy Thursday prompt, if you will, or topic was healing the feminine wounds. So I decided I'm going to read to you what I wrote. I feel like it's dark though. Hold on one sec. Because the sun goes down quick and then it's going to be dark and you can't see me and I don't have the time. Hold on. Okay, let's get into it. Let's be vulnerable on the internet. Ready? Reading out of my handy dandy book, of course. Quote, there's a wound related to your mother and or women you grew up around. They said some criticizing slash hurtful things that stuck with you and now their voice is your inner voice. End quote. That was from a reading I watched in mid-September of 22. It struck me and made me think as I was working on my feminine energy in this new phase of life. I am teaching myself to receive, I am healing my own wounds, and I am committing to myself in a way I never have previously, nor has it felt safe to do so. I have been in survival mode my entire life, all 23 years, at least from, what I can remember. And now being self-sufficient, my conscious mind knows slash accepts that there is no need for fight or flight anymore, but my subconscious is so used to being on go and working towards my next accomplishment that I do not fully embrace all of my accomplishments. Accomplishment? You know what I said. Sorry, not sorry, but haha, I'm probably going to be joking a bit because I use humor to cope. Where was I? Oh, trigger warning, eating, harm, and just, I'm going to say trigger again, so just like skip ahead 10 seconds after I say trigger. I do not sit and soak in all the progress that I have made and how far I've brought myself. Trigger. Because in theory, it is no different than when I brought myself out of anorexia, or when I stopped my self-harm using my keys, or when I taught myself other ways to cope rather than swallowing an entire pill bottle. It has always been me pushing me forward, and there is no difference now. The only difference is the external beings who added to my hurt now acknowledge, to a degree, that I am capable of great things and I will do so with or without them. One of my many wounds that I have always acknowledged was my tension and maybe grudge against my mother. Now, of course, I am not the only black person with mommy issues, but I never fully understood why my hurt held such weight in my heart. With everything else though, I swallowed it and tucked it down somewhere I wouldn't have to worry about it. And it was just another item in the chest of hurt that I used as my motivation to get away from all of them, which is probably which is probably why one of my sister's friends always knew I'd be the one to, quote, run off and do something with myself. That's what she said to me right after I moved. Now, what I did not realize was how everything else built on top of that. With that reading, and particularly the inner voice part, I really took a minute to think and analyze the feminine energies I was raised around. And there's a lot of them. And there was a lot of it, you know. Thinking back on all my experiences with women, my sisters, my aunts, my cousins, other moms, like other people's moms, my grandmothers, my father's side chicks, I could not name one consistently positive feminine relationship. Not one. My first genuine frustration that I recall with my mother was that she would not allow me to do any extracurriculars. The sensitive and creative being that I was just wanted to channel that into something, but because my older sisters quit everything they signed up for, I was not even allowed to sign up for things. That was frustrating, and I would even plead my case as to that had nothing to do with me and I am not them, but the answer was still no. In hindsight, it may have been for monetary reasons, but in that case, a simple "I can't afford it" could have avoided a lot of further hurt slash insecurity slash imposter syndrome from developing. It would have actually made me more of a hustler. That is just the earliest instance, though. What I remember the most, and what I remember being the shifter for me emotionally, is my mother saying to me, quote, "You don't get credit for the things that you're supposed to do." I believe the context was me pleading my case for an allowance and saying I basically get straight A's, and that was her response. So what that said to me, or at least how I internalized it, was no matter what you do, you won't be good enough. Shout out to imposter syndrome. Seed planted right there. So then you think, okay, a wounded black woman in New York raising these kids around an ancient man, we'll get there. It's wrong what she said, but it's understandable. So what about your siblings? Aha. My sisters are the reason I'm emotionally traumatized. Having been here before, I just charged it to the game that my mother felt that my mother felt stone cold, but your siblings are supposed to be the ones you plot and scheme against your parents with. My sisters were the reason I was convinced my birth was a mistake. Well, we'll do what we gotta do after a drunk night. That's how I felt. My oldest sister is 11 years older than me, and the middle sister is 7 years older than me. I was raised as the youngest of three girls. I have another sister the same age as my middle sister. My oldest sister, we're going to call her Taurus, because she's a Taurus. And then the middle sister, we'll call her Pisces, because she's a Pisces. I don't know what my other sisters are, but whatever. I have another sister the same age as Pisces, Exhibit A of Papa was a Rolling Stone, but she basically didn't even acknowledge my existence. What solidified that was not being invited to her Sweet 16, even though Pisces went and was all in the photo ops. My two older sisters are 4 years apart and basically besties. They always have been. They shared a lot of the same experiences growing up, i.e., summers in North Carolina with family. They have cute nicknames for each other, still do to this day, cute names in each other's phones. And they were very much on the same page with torturing me, the baby. The only memories from childhood that I have involving my sisters is one, Pisces was forced to take me to the movies with her. She put up a fuss about it and then get to the movies and she makes me sit 2 or 3 rows ahead of her in a movie that I'm not even supposed to be in. I'm pretty sure it was like rated R or PG-13. I don't remember. It was something I wasn't supposed to be in. While she sits behind me with all of her friends. 2, at our house in, I believe it was Queens Village. I just remember the house. I don't remember where it was exactly. It was near my old babysitter, Miss Shelley, for those that know me and, may come across this video. Both sisters and my older cousin, their age, are huddled around the computer, kikiing, and when I try to take part, they basically start clowning me. 3, both sisters band together to chase me and scare me with the vacuum cleaner. My oldest, 4, Taurus laughing at me on the bus ride home as I read cigarettes wrong when I was just learning how to read. Pisces got in trouble. I was riding around with my dad trying to find her, and then when we find her, we get back to the house, and when I finally get a minute to ask if she's okay, she snaps at me and tells me to leave her alone. That's it. Those are my memories. Oh, and one time Pisces read my journal about the time my female cousin, 1 year older than me, was kissing and rubbing all on me, but rather than try to get to the bottom of it, her and her friend, Pisces and her friend, were interrogating me and reading my personal thoughts and laughing and threatening to tell my parents if I didn't answer their questions. But that's it. Those make up 85% of my childhood memories. The other four, five, maybe six memories I have before the age of 13 are not exactly positive either. So, right there, the three feminine energies I spend basically 100% of my time with are all negative. Mind you, Pisces and I shared a room and went to the same private Catholic school for a year, with other small random things coming back to me, all after school related. And in those instances, I'm either getting scrutinized or made fun of. So let's cast the net a little wider. My father had side chicks that he would move into the basement of what I consider my childhood home. Nothing crazy. It was basically its own apartment with a separate entrance and all. I would have I would become cordial with these women and they would be nice to me, but every so often there was a new one as opposed to the old one. My father would make it seem like I get final approval slash if I don't like them, they won't be around. Same thing, and then same instance if I'm in the car as he picks up women. My grandmothers were interesting. My paternal grandmother was very rigid, very straightforward, doesn't care if your feelings are hurt, not going to fake being interested in what you're talking about, won't say anything to you if she has nothing to say. I have not spoken to her since freshman year of college when we went to see her. Literally, like my first weekend at school, they came and got me, and then we drove down to her house. Last time I seen or spoken to her. My maternal grandmother is quite the opposite. She would watch me sometimes, but would always be tired from working at a school. Later, when I would spend summers in North Carolina by myself, I would be at my great aunt's house as opposed to hers. Partially my preference, but I could also always feel her tension with her two sisters. Even though I was lonely in North Carolina each summer, my Aunt Mary would do her best to keep me entertained. She let me help her cook sometimes, watch her stories with her, occasionally movie night in her room. But for the most part, that's where I got a lot of my independence. I could be in my own room, but she was right across the hall if I needed her. She's the reason slash first person that got me to stay still in my sleep. I was a wild sleeper. I really enjoyed that house. I had a friend across the street. Mary would take me to the park around the corner sometimes, but mostly we would just post up on the porch, rocking chairs, drink tea, and enjoy the country air. Real country shit. That house also taught me a lot energetically, though. Directly across the hall from me was my great grandmother's room, and randomly one day I just felt the urge to go in there, and the room just felt stiff. She told me to make sure her white family was at the funeral too. She really wanted her sister to be there, but didn't expect her brother to show. A couple hours later, I step out my room door just as, like, some medical people are carrying her body towards the front door in a bag. That's the same house where it would just be Mary and I, so when she had her panic attacks, shaking on the couch, can't move, stuttering to talk, I would have to help her through it and bring her water or whatever else she needed. Of all the feminines in my life, Mary was probably the most positive. And she was the youngest, so she understood me. Hold on one second. Woo. That made it hurt all the more the one time I was singing, working on my whistle tones. Which, quick side note, I really used to be able to like whistle in the way that like Mariah Carey and Ariana Grande whistle. But like one day I was whistling and like forcing it out, and I literally felt something in my neck pop, and then ever since then I have not been able to do it the same. I'm very upset about that. But one time I was singing, working on my whistle tones, and she told my grandmother over the phone because they were on the phone. My grandmother's sitting on the couch, they're on the phone, Mary's on the phone. Um, just to paint the picture, but let's start this over. That made it hurt all the more the one time I was singing, working on my whistle tones, and she told my grandmother over the phone, who had no problem repeating it to me, that quote it sounded like someone was screaming. She either said screaming or crying, but I'm pretty sure it was screaming. Needless to say, I was silent the rest of the night. The same reading gave the advice to talk to my inner child and comfort her so she knows that we are no longer in lack. She needs to know that we are safe now. I am in charge of my abundance, my resources, my finances. And I'm going to make sure that everything is good and that all our needs are met. She still has the unhealthy connection with money and is unable to see the bigger picture and that we will not struggle forever. I sympathize with her though because it is hard to see/expect different when all you've known is financial struggle. I am working on it. I'm working with her. She trusts me more now. Like she's learned to trust me within the last she's progressively learned to trust me within the last 2 years. So yeah, she trusts me more now than she ever has. And she's releasing the grip and learning to embrace fluidity. The recommendation was to do something special for her and raise the question of what does she enjoy? She enjoys all things expressive. She enjoys colors and dancing and creating looks and singing and cooking/baking. She likes to express herself and uses the things she enjoys to hopefully make others feel just as good as expressing makes her feel. Both her and I are working on releasing hidden grudges from those past hurts and traumas, not only from what we've experienced, but what we didn't experience, aka emotional neglect. This is just the tip of that iceberg though. We have always had each other, we fight for each other, and we support each other. With the help of the Most High, we have persevered and we've done some great tasks thus far. The best is yet to come, though. With love, Tiana, aka TT, because that was my childhood nickname. Now, that was from a reading mid-September. So, September 29th, I'm watching another reading, right? So, say a week or so later, a week, 2 weeks, round up 2 weeks later. I'm watching another reading. In that reading, the question is, why are you mad at your mom? And it also asks the question, what happened that night you disassociated for the first time? And that triggered me a bit too, because I remember multiple times disassociating, but then it made me think, like, what was the first time? What happened the first night that you disassociated? And then I remembered the night. I don't want to get into it right now. But after hearing that question and thinking about the answer to that question, it really started, it not irked me, but it really drove the not drove the point home, but like it further validated my frustration with the fact that it further validated my frustration with people calling me bougie. People think just because I'm pretty and I'm talented and I've been traveling since freshly into my double digits that I haven't been through shit. And it's like, I've been through shit just like everybody else has been through shit. Like, I was fake homeless, like living with my mom's, what I found out later, cracked out friend but even she had her life together because she had a bunch of kids too. But we were living in her house. And then it's like, nobody knows about us having lived in rundown houses. Like, we lived in Hempstead one time, and structurally what I'm positive was probably a crack house. And one time somebody literally threw a concrete like slab through the kitchen window, and I'm in 6th grade at the time, and I have to suck it up and get up and go to school the next day. Like, That's the same house that we experienced, I believe it was Hurricane Sandy in, but nobody knows about that. They just know that I have a smart mouth, and like I got into it a lot with people because of my mouth, and but like nobody knows about me sitting passenger seat while my father is picking up women, and I get the final approvals, and I'm thinking whole time we're just out riding about, we just going for a drive. You know how people be on Twitter and like, yeah, I just want to ride in the car with you. Like me thinking it's that with my dad whole time it's ride-alongs because he's moving weight. Like nobody knows all that shit. They just see, oh, she's been to Belize, she's been to Greece. The first time she went out of the country by herself, I mean, first time she went out of the country without her parents was in 8th grade. But like 6th grade, it's so, just because I hold myself together well and I present well doesn't mean I haven't been through shit too. But so it's like, don't, that's why I really stand on, I'm not fucking bougie. I may be high maintenance. It takes a lot. I take a lot of upkeep. Being a bad bitch takes a lot of upkeep, but I'm not bougie. Bougie is a mindset. Okay. Bougie bitches have no reason to believe, not believe that they deserve better, but like have no reason to ask a nigga to buy her a tennis bracelet when she can't even go to McDonald's and buy herself a Big Mac meal. Like, you have no reason to be asking for Birkins and asking for tennis chains and tennis bracelets, okay? I buy my own tennis bracelets. I buy my own diamond rings. I'm high maintenance. I deserve those things. I ask for them because I can do it for myself. I'm not fucking bougie. I'm high maintenance. I take a lot of upkeep. If you can't afford me, just fucking say that. Okay? Because I have been through a lot, as you have heard. I will not lower my standards for absolutely anybody. If you just can't fit the mold, then you just can't fit the mold. I'm not for everybody. It's okay. Like I said, me and my inner child, my younger self, we are working on things. We are healing each other. We got each other's back. We're going to do what needs to be done. Yeah, that was a lot. It was a lot to write. So putting it out here on the internet like this is actually kind of crazy for me. But like, I'm here to make other people feel seen. And hopefully this, I don't know if any of you may potentially have similar feminine wounds, but like, it's okay. It's safe to this here is a safe space. Talk to me about it, okay? We can talk about it. I'm very patient. I'm a very comforting energy, so I've been told. I take pride in that. I don't judge. Everything is fair game with me. If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. I don't want to talk about my life though, because I've expressed enough, and unless we're talking in a experience that I have is similar to yours, and then I'll share and blah blah blah. But I'm chatting. That's what I wrote for Therapy Thursday. We're healing. We're doing the work that it takes to become better people. Because we have to. So yeah. Ha ha ha. If this is your first time seeing me, I'm so sorry. This is such a heavy way to meet somebody. But like, we are authentic and non-judgmental on this channel. Okay? This is a safe space. Anyway, if you made it to the end of the video and you don't know me, hi. My name's Naori. Stick around. You love it here. Duh. Embrace being a star. Subscribe. Follow my socials. It is No Excuses November. We are pushing out content. We're doing what needs to be done. There's no excuses. I'm posting a lot of videos this month. I'm positive something else will pique your interest. Like I said, I'm doing things that she enjoys. If you haven't seen my vlog, balancing my life and just showing up for myself, that was me making the conscious effort to do things that I enjoy and do things that bring me joy, non-monetary things that bring me joy. I have to show up for myself. And with that, I have to go to the gym because it's leg day. So, I'll holla at y'all. Bye.